Namaste, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another session of Ayush Talks. So today's Ayush Talks will feature Dr. Ashish Phadke. He is an Ayurvedic clinician with a degree in Ayurveda, and he has completed a Ph.D. in yoga philosophy and an advanced diploma in Yogic Education. He is also a certified Reiki grandmaster. In addition, he is a certified clinical hypnotherapist, a certified stress management personnel, and he is also a certified bioenergy field reader. He has given various talks on Ayurveda across the world, including in Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, South Korea, and Nigeria. He is also the founder of Ayurvision. So in this session, Dr. Phadke will explain how a basic foundation of Ayurveda can facilitate a better understanding of yoga. Dr. Phadke, would you like to join the session, please? Namaste. Welcome to the Center for Ayurveda Studies. Dr. Phadke, so I'm going to hand over the session to you now, and I'll see all of you towards the end when we open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a moment. I'm sharing my slides first. Is it visible? If the slides are visible, please let me know.
Yes, they're visible. Thank you.
So, well, today we are going to have a session on Ayurveda for yoga teachers and yoga therapists. And you must be thinking why this particular topic has been chosen and what I'm going to speak on this particular aspect. The basic reason behind taking this particular session or the thinking about this particular session began way back when I was doing my basic training in yoga, right? That time I realized that many times in most of the yogic schools in Mumbai or otherwise as well, they give a lot of importance to know what is anatomy, what is physiology, then modern medicine with reference to different kind of diseases and the yoga intervention on those diseases. So things are on that mode. But when you enter into understanding and learning yoga, then we realize that there is one more component which we are not paying attention to, and that is Ayurveda. As you might have seen that basically I am a clinician, I am MD in Ayurveda, and within our Ayurvedic program also we do have part of yoga in our curriculum. So there we have learned yoga. Then later on I learned from different institutes, starting from Kaivalyadham, then Yoga Vidya Niketan, Mumbai University, where we have got a conglomeration of various institutes, teachers, and we get to know different styles from Bihar School of Yoga or Santa Cruz Institute, which is from Mumbai itself, and many others. So basically, while learning all these particular programs, I realized that sometimes it is very necessary and important to know about Ayurvedic philosophy and Ayurvedic basic terminology before you venture into learning yoga. Now, what I'm meaning is not basically to make someone acquainted with, higher level of Ayurvedic terminologies or so that a person can become, eligible for practicing Ayurveda. No, it's not that particular way we are looking out for, but definitely we want to, make people understand some basic functions or basic foundation of Ayurveda. Why it is not changing slide? One second. Yeah. So before one second. So before we actually start our today's discussion, let us bow down in front of these two, gods. One is Patanjali, and second is Dhanvantari, Lord Dhanvantari. Now, if we see the prayer of Patanjali, which we otherwise say before we start any of our yoga session while teaching yoga practices in different schools. So, yogena chittasya padena vacha balam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarottam pravaram muninam Patanjalim pranjali ranatosmi. So, first line is with reference to the grammar part of Patanjali. right? He has written Bhashya on Panini, so Mahabhashya. Then second line, that is Malam Sharirasya Cha Vaidyakena, is referring to that activity which is being taken by Patanjali Muni. Some people they say that Patanjali Muni and Charaka Acharya, they were same. Now there are debates on that, but let us understand that okay, he has also contributed to benefit of the human being for the physical level with reference to Ayurveda. And finally, Yogena Chittasya, that is in yoga, it is taking care of your mind, your chitta, basically. So there in the prayer itself, they are putting Ayurveda and yoga and grammar together to make us understand that there is a importance of Patanjali Muni in these all three different areas. And this is the photograph of Lord Dhanvantari, who is supposed to be god of medicine, not just Ayurveda, but the medicine of entire world. And you must be knowing about Lord Dhanvantari is supposed to be one of the avatar of Lord Vishnu. So going ahead, now when we speak about Ayurveda, so what is Ayurveda? Ayurveda is nothing but Ayusho Veda Ayurveda, or it is Upangam Atharva Vedasya. It is considered to be a part and parcel of Vedas, basically from Rig Veda and down to that, the maximum portion is found out in Atharva Veda. So it is considered to be Upangam Atharva Vedasya. And in that, it has been mentioned why Ayurveda has to be understood. So, Dharmartha Kama Mokshanam Arogyam Moolam Uttamam. For Dharma, Artha, and Kama and Moksha, one needs to learn Ayurveda, one needs to practice Ayurveda. In that ahead, they have given the concept about or the definition about what is wellness, what is health, and what is disease condition. So they have said Sukha Saudnyakam Arogyam Vikaro Dukkham Evacha, or Vikaro Dosha Vaishamyam Dosha Samya Arogata. So whenever there are equilibrium or homeostasis of your dosha, which are three doshas, basically Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and 7 types of vital tissues, that is Rasa, Rakta, Mausa, Meda, Asti, Majja, Shukra, and then Agni. And these are the first level, that is physical plateau, physical plane. And then there is another part, that is your mind, then your different sense organs and your soul. So even that should be in a blissful condition. So when there is a Sukha Saudnekam, Sukha is like people they translate loosely as pleasure, but it's not pleasure, it's a bliss. Okay, so Sukha Saudnekam Arogyam, if a person is in a healthy state, then that is perceived by Sukha. And now Sukha and Dukkha, these are the terms which are connected, though also one can connect it with physical level also, but usually it is connected with mind. If you go to Sankhya, then Mano Anukula Vedaniya Janyam Sukham and Mano Pratikula Vedaniya Janyam Dukkham, means if it is favorable to mind, and if your mind becomes happy, then it is Sukha, and otherwise it is Dukkha. Now whenever you are in a Sukha state, then it is Arogyam and Vikaro Dukkham Evacha. So Vikar means disease state when there is a dukkha to the mind, and of course then second level to that of your physical health as well. Same way in second third line, you see that Vikaro Dosha Vaishamyam. Whenever there is a homeostasis or equilibrium in dosha, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, or not just dosha, it is dhatu also, it is Agni also, it is Mala also, then it is considered to be Arogata. Dosha Samya Arogata means it is a health, otherwise it is disease condition. Then in next line, you can see that there are various synonyms of diseases which has been given. Rogapma, Papma, Joro, Vyadhi, Vikaro, Dukkhamamaya, Yakshma, Tanka, Gadabada, Shabda, Paryayi, Vachan. There are many various synonyms. Now, why I'm showing all this? Because when we read certain texts from Hatha Yoga particularly, or even in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, we see some of these terms. Like for example, we see Vyadhi in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. We see other terms in your Hatha Yoga text. So we need to know what this particular text says. Now we'll not get into all these details about all these 8 branches, But just to know that Ayurveda is a branch, is a science basically, which consists of 8 different branches. Kaya, Bala, Grahordvanga, Shalya, Danshta, Jaravashan. Basically 8 disciplines, full-fledged disciplines were discussed by Ashtanga Hridayakar, Vagbhatacharya in those time. And still we are practicing even now also. Now coming to why one should know Ayurveda and Yoga, because what is the aim and object for having these particular disciplines? So they have mentioned in Ayurveda that swasthasya swastharakshanam aturasya vikara prashmanam. So swasthasya swastharakshanam means to maintain the health of any healthy individual and to retain health of deceased one. So now this is the concept of preventive and social medicine, which we are practicing now. But those time around 5000 BC, Ayurveda has already practiced this. Now this swastha is a term which is swa plus tha. Okay. And swa means your original state. And again, when you see particularly your Patanjali Yoga Sutra, then this swa, swarupa, tada swarupe avasthanam. So swa, swarupa. So that's swa here and in Ayurveda, both the places you can see simile, and they are emphasizing on that swarupam or swastham. Now, what is the definition? The definition says hitaitam sukham dukkham ayustasya hitaitam manam chetachetroptam ayurveda sauchyate. Now, you can see different kinds of explanation on this, but the commonest one is there are 4 types of life. What is hitayu, then ahitayu, sukhayu, and dukkhayu, and how to maintain your hitayu and sukhayu, and how to remain away from ahitayu and dukkhayu. They have said that they have given list or the directions or the specifications, what to eat, what not to eat, what to do, what not to do, in what season one should do certain things, in which particular things should be avoided in particular season. So all those things are been mentioned with a specific measure. So manamcha tacha yatra uktam. So with particular standard, with particular measure, not just loosely, that discipline is termed as Ayurveda, right? So hita and ahita, ahar, hita ahita kar vihar, all that is specific to your life. And sukha kar and dukkha kar, pleasurable and non-pleasurable deeds with reference to your mind. So anything, whenever you feel like eating some sweets, or say let us say in India, in Mumbai, the famous is vada pav. So you eat that vada pav and you feel very nice, but then after eating that one round, if you feel like having second time, third time, because of your tongue, not for health but for taste, then it is, though it is sukhakar, while eating it you feel nice, but then after eating a particular quantum it becomes dukkhakar, because next day you may get problem, you may get abdominal GI upset kind of stuff. So we require to know what is to be taken, what is not to be taken, with reference to food, with reference to your daily routine, and with reference to your even thinking. So all that has been mentioned in this, and something similar has also been mentioned in yoga. So when we compare both, or when we actually parallelly study either disciplines, then it helps us even more. Now, what is the definition? Already I explained that definition earlier. Samadosha samagnischa samadhatu malakriya prasanna atma indriya mana swastha iti abhidhyate. So swastha and swarupe, already I mentioned that, and it is exactly same as the definition of WHO. It is just health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So basically here we need to understand that on different levels, that is physical and mental and your spiritual, all those aspects are being taken considered while defining the definition of health or holistic health or well-being as mentioned in Ayurveda. And something similar is also mentioned in yoga as well. Now coming to this is again known to everybody. I'm not wasting time on this, but these are 5 basic elements. So Pancha Mahabhuta we call. And from these Pancha Mahabhuta, what we derive is a derivation of Tridosha. So Akash Vayu makes Vata, then Agni and Jala contributes to Pitta, and Jala and Prithvi contributes to Kapha. Now, when these three are understood in a basic way, then we realize that how and when and why certain yogic practices needs to be done, or why it is to be avoided in particular disease condition and things like that. Or even this will be a basic criteria for understanding yogic diet, because otherwise people, they just read out the verses, the translation part of it, and that's it. So we will go a little deeper, and in Ayurveda we speak about 6 different tests. Usually in modern sciences we speak about 4, but in Ayurveda we speak about 6 tests, and that is termed as Shadras in Sanskrit, technical term. So what are those? So Madhura, that is sweet, then Amla, that is sour, then Lavana, that is salty, then Katu, that is pungent, then Tikta, that is bitter, and Kashaya, that is astringent. Now, I would like to bring all of your attention over here for a very important reason, that in some particular texts of a very reputed publications, they have probably had typo error, or I don't know why it has appeared like that. But many a times people, they are translating tikta as pungent and katu as bitters. So it is not so. So we need to understand that tikta means bitter and katu means pungent. Okay, because that will make sense while understanding our discussion on yogic diet, right? Then in yoga, in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, in particularly Ashtanga Yoga, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, where is the reference of, say, per se Ayurvedic term? So the very first antaraya, very first obstacle which Patanjali Muni has mentioned over there is Vyadhi. And you remember in our earlier slide, we have discussed the various synonyms of Vyadhi: Roga, Papma, Joro, Vyadhi, Vikaro, Dukkha, Mamaya. So Vyadhi is diseases or illnesses. And while discussing Vyadhi in Ayurveda, Shastrakar or our ancestors, they have discussed very clearly that Vyadhi can be divided into 2 classes. One is Sharir Vyadhi, that is physical illness or physical diseases, and Manas Vyadhi, that is mental or diseases or mental disorders. And there is a third type, which also mentioned by our Ayurvedic ancestors, Ayurvedic sages, and that is the one which is having combination of that, and to which nowadays we are calling as the psychosomatic condition, psychosomatic, Shariraja, Manasaja together, right? So these are the classification of diseases as given in Ayurveda. There is another classification of disease which they are saying that disease which is created because of the disruptment of the homeostasis of doshas, and that is termed as Nija, Nija Vyadhi. And the one which is coming from outside, from the etiologies or the causes coming from outside, so that is termed as Agantuja Roga. Now, Agantuja means coming from outside of that of body, and Nija is the one which is created within body. Okay, and the similar thing you can see in modern medicine as well. Okay, now why I'm saying this? Because particularly when it is like Agantuja, for example, you get trauma, right? You come across accident, or there is some infection coming from some organisms. So those are coming under Agantuja Vyadhi. And another common things like your common cold, Pratishaya, or bronchitis, that is Kasa, Shwasa, that is your bronchial asthma, and things like that. They are also because of your Nija. Nija means endogenous, etiologies, not exogenous, not agantuja. So these are various ways of classifying diseases. There is another classification in Ayurveda of diseases, that is acute and chronic, acute diseases and chronic diseases. Now, why I'm discussing all these? Because when we sit as a yoga therapist, right, then we need to understand that which particular type of diseases we really have to take care of. If a person is suffering from some accident and then we say, oh, we can do something great with yoga therapy, then I think we are not correct. We require to send that patient not even to Ayurveda, but to modern medicine casualty department, because that is what is the need for that particular hour. But if a person is coming with complaints of say bronchial asthma, okay, and he's taking pumps, then definitely we can use Ayurveda or yoga as a component, as a together, integrative approach, and definitely we can help that particular patient to get rid of his, steroid pumps or things like that. So we require to know which kind of diseases, which kind of conditions we can tackle with. Another very important thing is we should not, think that we are replacing medical treatment. We are not doctor, but we are yoga therapists. So we are going to help patient, and we are supposed to tell that patient that, look, you are supposed to continue your medical treatment, whatever you are taking. Along with that, you can have your yoga therapy sessions. So that one part, need to be very careful, because I've seen many a times people, they become very enthusiastic after learning yoga for 2 years, 3 years, and having that so-called diploma or advanced diploma kind of stuff. They start thinking that, oh, they are doctors. So we are not doctors, we are yoga therapists. So after this, let us come down to certain scripts and particular verses, and then how we can understand the Ayurvedic aspect to understand those particular shlok better. Now, this is the one particular verse. I have taken it from Hatha Yoga Pradipika, one of famous text. Everyone is aware of it, and in that they have given one, verse like Danda Dvayam Kapale Dve Adav Pitha Chatushtayam Vaishamyam Saptadatunam Nashayanti Murtata. Now, what they have said, that this particular practices which they have mentioned, they are actually destroying Vaishamyam Saptadatunam. Now, we saw the definition of health in the beginning, and we realized that if there is a equilibrium of dosha dhatu, mala, and agni, samadosha, samagnisha, just now I uttered that. So if there is a Vaishamya, then there is a disease condition. And if you want to take away that uh, uh, dhatu vaishamya, or even when we say dhatu vaishamya here, then you have to understand dosha, agni, and mala as well. So according to Josna Tika of Swami Brahmanandaji, it has been very clearly mentioned that we have to understand that way, and then you have to give the recommendation, or we have to make that person or whomever is coming as a patient, or while teaching to our students, we have to make them understand this particular shlok in that way. Now, Swastikam Gomukham Veeram Chittam Chanchalya Nashakam Nivrutte Sarvaroganam Lagu Kurmam Cha Kukkutam. Now, again, this is one of the shloks from the same Hatha Yoga Pradipika. And there is a Swastikasan, Gomukhasan, Veerasan. I need not show you the figures because I'm sure all of you are aware of it. You are practicing it, teaching it. So if a person practices these particular asan, then it is what the benefit one can get. Chittam Chanchalya Nashakam. Chittam means your mind in a simpler term. Otherwise, chitta is a combination of, as all of you are aware of, manas, buddhi, and ahankar, right? But to understand in a simple language, in a common language, it will remove the wavering mind. So it is helpful in anxiety, particularly. Okay, and nivritte sarvaroganam lagu kurmam cha kukkutam. So lagu kurmasan and kukkutasan will also help in removing all diseases. So how it will remove all disease? But because it will have its own effect on your system, particularly your Agni. Many other asana practices are very specifically, aimed at Agni, which we'll see. But when we are reading, then usually we don't realize, we don't understand why it is mentioned like that. But if you have some correlation with Ayurveda. If you have read something in earlier, then it will be easy to know. Now, even while knowing to whom one should learn yoga, they have mentioned yuva vruddhoti vruddhava vyadhito durbalo apiva abhyasat siddhim apnoti sarva yogeshu tandreva. Now, here again, yuva, vruddha, ati vruddha. So there are avastha of lifespan as mentioned in Ayurveda. So first there is a Shaishava Avastha, where neonates, then Balya Avastha, that is pediatric age group, then Yuva Avastha, then Vruddha Avastha, Vardhakya Avastha, that is aged, group. And then Ati Vruddha Avastha, people those who are above 80 or 90, they are Ati Vruddhova. And then they have said that not only to those one can learn yoga, but even yoga can also be taught to Vyadhito apiva. Vyadhito, those who are diseased, can also be taught yoga. And Durbalo apiva, those who were in disease condition, now they have recovered, but they are in convalescence and they are weak, or they are in a disease condition, they are very, very weak. To them also we can teach yoga. And here we need to understand that Balyavastha is not taken, though we teach kids yoga nowadays, but there is a word of caution that certain practices we really need to be very careful while teaching to kids, because in that particular age group, certain things are not completely set. So one need to be really specific about. This part will not deal with the Naveshadaranam Siddhe Karanam Chatatkata Kriya Iva Karanam Siddhe Satyam Etatra. By just wearing robe, orange robe, or bhagwa kafni, you are not becoming yogi, but you need to actually practice yoga day-to-day basis. And you should motivate your student, motivate your patient to take up the practice, and that only will help. That is what is mentioned. Now, coming down to another practice of yoga, which we all do every day, that Padmasana or Adharasan. Now, in Adharasan, we do lot many things like Sukhasan, in which we normal put cross leg, palti maar ke baith jate, and then we do Ardha Padmasan, or before that we do Swastikasan, then we do Ardha Padmasan, Padmasan, and then finally Siddhasan. Now, in all this, you see Vama Upari Dakshanam Cha Charanam Sanstapya Vama Tatha, and then there is a lot of discussion and description, and then finally in benefits, while discussing benefit, they have said Etad Vyadhi Vinashakari Yaminam Padmasanam Prauchate or Prochate. Now, why they have mentioned Vyadhi Vinashakari? What is the benefit of this Padmasana? Why it is to be understood as one of that importance? So please understand that this is taking triangular shape and the base is wider. Okay, so in this, when a person sits, then he can sit still, focus, and particular way, it happens that your spine and your skull gets, placed in a such a way that it is completely stable. And then your brain should not bother about respiration, should not bother about the stability part, and then it can get diverted, or rather get focused on more higher functions like meditation or like pranayama. That is what it has been mentioned. And if you see that if a group of people, those who are sitting in Padmasana like this, and they are sitting otherwise, then one study was undertaken by Dr. Pratap, and he found that whenever you are sitting in Padmasana, then your vitals are much, much lower, and your attention span is much, much increased as compared to the other people, those who are not sitting in Padmasana. Okay. Now, when again we see this particular asana with reference to modern physiology and modern medicine, this is one way we think about, but with reference to Ayurveda, again we see, then you recollect the discussion and description about chakra system as mentioned by Sushrutacharya. So in chakra, which is energy points and which is also mentioned by Hatha Yoga, and in that, if you want to do chakra dharana or chakra meditation, then you are supposed to sit in any adharasana, and the best way would be Padmasana. Or while doing your pranayam practices, again, this could be one of the best way of going ahead with. coming down to another asana practice, which is very commonly we practice and suggest everyone to do it, that is Paschimottanasana. Now in Paschimottanasana, iti Paschimottanam asanam agryam pavanam paschima vahinam karoti udayam jatara narasya kuryad udare karsham arogatam cha punsam. So this is what is the benefits mentioned by Hattapradipika Swatmaramji. Okay, now what it is saying that this is making pavanam. Pavanam means vata, vayu. What we have seen in Ayurveda, vata, pitta, kapha. This vayu becomes paschima vahinam karoti. Paschima vahinam, this is agre, purva. Purva means anterior part and paschima means posteriorly. So when a person, bend forward and try to touch the big toes, then the pavanam becomes paschima vahinam. It is going backward, and that also gives pressure on your stomach or the mid portion. And udayam jatharanalasya kuryat udare karsham api bhavati. So what happens because of this posture? So when it is having that flexion or the anterior torso tries to touch the head, and uh, fingers try to go ahead with touching the big toes, then jatara anala, that is jatara agni. Now jatara agni is a concept in Ayurveda which is considered as one of the main agni. We have got 13 types of agni. Agni is a fire, digestive fire is a literal translation. But to understand what that fire is, it is nothing but your metabolic capacity. Whatever you eat, whatever you drink, whatever you do, that needs to be getting completely digested. So whatever you eat, may it be food, may it be medicine, that should get digested and assimilated, right? For that, you require to have better Jatara Agni. And that Jatara Agni becomes better by doing regular practice of Paschimottanasana. Okay. Now, there are 13 types of Agni. We have got Pancha Mahabhuta Agni, right? Then Sapta Dhatu Agni, these Rasa, Rakta, Mausa, Meda, Asti, Majja, Shukra. Rasa is your lymphatic, then Rakta is your blood, Mausa is your muscular tissue, then Asti is your bones basically, Majja is your bone marrows or your nervous tissue, and Shukra is your reproductive tissue. And all these 7 tissues have got their own specific Agni. So we call it as Jataragni, Irsagni, Raktagni, Mausagni, like that. And so 7 plus 5, 12. And the 13th one, which is the main king of all these Agnis, and that is Jataragni. So that Jataragni gets Pradipta, that gets ignited, and that gives its portion to all these other 12 types of Agnis to function your body normally. So this Paschim Tanasana will help you to have better Jataragni. Then because of that increase in Jataragni, it will try to digest excess of fat which are deposited in and around your belly. And that's how they have mentioned that Udare Karsham. So when there is a digestion of that excessive fat, then you will see that the circumference of your belly or abdomen becomes lower and lower, and the fat will get reduced by doing this asana regular way. And that also leads finally arogatam cha punsam. Punsam means that particular human will become disease free forever. So that is what you understand by knowing the hidden meaning of these terms, not merely the translation. Yes, translations are also important and very crucial for basic understanding. But if you want to go deep dive in all these particular verses, then I think this will be very useful. There's something similar has been also mentioned in Giranda Samhita. So Vayu Paschima Margena Tasya Charitam Nishchitam Etat Abhyasakanam cha Sarva Siddhim cha Jayate. Now Sarva Siddhim could be only possible when you are becoming aroga, arogi or arogyam, right? So, and it is difficult to practice. All of you, those who are doing it, practicing it, they know. and therefore it is also termed by Geranda Muni as Ugrasana. This is another synonym for this. Now this is Bhujangasan, and you know how to go ahead in Bhujangasan. There are variations of Bhujangasan. This is classical one which we follow in most of our institutes, whether it is Kaivalyadham or whether in my institute where I have learned and taken a lot of time, that is Yoga Vidya Niketan, founded by my Guruji, that is Yogacharya Sadashiv Rao Nimbalkarji, who happens to be a direct disciple of Swami Kolanandaji. So we follow this particular first picture in which a lady is performing this, and when you lift your hand, then you are not supposed to fall down. That is what is the way. And then second variation, you can put the there is no flexion at your elbow joint. Elbow is straight, but then the pressure at your lower back is at different level, so one need to understand and do. Now we are considering the classical one, and in the benefit, that is the Falashruti part, it has been mentioned Dehagni Vardate Nityam Sarva Roga Vinashanam, right? That is given by Geranda Samhitakar. Dehagni Vardate Nityam. So the Agni, the Jatragni, which I just now explained few minutes back, is getting ignited max to its max, and because it is at max, it will have proper effect on the metabolism. Your metabolic activity become much better, and because it is better, it is taking care that you will not have anything like your metabolic syndrome and things like that, and automatically you will be away from diabetes or hypertension or PCOD or things like that. So this is what is the importance of Bhujangasan, though we are usually recommending Bhujangasan for low back pain. But friends, we need to also refer the original scripts, and we should also include this asana for general health, for improving your Agni. In for that sake, I have just tried to show. Now, this is another important asana which everyone is aware of and everybody is happy. All students, they say after having a long session of 1 hour or so, then everyone says, sir, now please let us start practicing Shavasana, because everyone likes to get into Shavasana. And if you know what Shavasana is, it is Uttanam Shavad Bhumau Shayanam Tat Shavasanam. So we know the definition part, we know how it is to be practiced. From school to school, yoga schools, there are some variations. So considering everything in mind, what remains unchanged is the second line, that is Shavasanam Shrantiharam Chitta Vishranti Karakam. Shavasanam Shrantiharam Chitta Vishranti Karakam. It is making you stress free, anxiety free, and it gives you a great physical and mental rest. So that is what is the benefit of Shavasana. Now, when particularly we ask particular, sadhak or the students or even a patient also to perform Shavasana, then we have to be very careful that he will not slip into sleep. Otherwise, it is not Shavasana, it is just a sleep. People, they start snoring in the session. If we are not focusing, we are not monitoring, and if the receiver is also not understanding correctly, then he will or she will get into snoring. So that should not happen. Now, another very interesting and important part I would like to tell you here, that in 1969, way back 1969, Dr. Date and team from KEM, they have tried this particular Shavasana and they have standardized the way of doing it in a specific way than whatever other methods are prevailing. And they have used it as beneficial for those who are having essential hypertension. Means those who are having hypertension with a very high level, like 180 by 110, 200 by 120, like that. Systolic so high, diastolic is also so high. Usually is 120 by 80 or 130 by 85 or 140 by 90. But in this case, it is very high. Usually it is because of some reason, like say renovascular hypertension, there is some problem with the kidney, so the BP shoots up, or there is something pertaining to your heart itself, you know But here it is, you never know what is the real cause, and it is just like that. So it is considered as an essential hypertension, and most of these people, they were not responding to then that time available modern medication. So in those particular refractory cases, they have tried this particular shavasana in specific way, with some Ayurvedic, inputs with reference to their diet and the lifestyle, as mentioned by Dinacharya or Rutucharya. And you see the paper, you can read the paper from hypertension, that it has really helped in a great way. And this is the first paper in this particular direction by Dr. Date and Dr. Vinekar and Deshmukh and Dalvi. But very interestingly, my Guruji, that is Dr. Nimbalkar Guruji, and along with his son, that is Swami Kolanandaji, they have helped them in undertaking this particular session, and they got very good outcome out of this. And he has presented paper in one of the international conference on hypertension. So anyway, so this was with Shavasana. Now coming down to pranayam, it has been very clearly mentioned that adau sthanam tatha kalam mitaharam tatha param nadi shuddhi tatha paschat pranayam cha sadhayet. Now here you see the term mitaharam. Now mitahar is a term which is there in yoga, and it is also there in Ayurveda. Okay, now we'll see first yoga, then I'll speak about Ayurveda as well. Now mitaharam vinayastu yogarambam yogarambam samacharet nana rogo bhavetasya kinchit yogana siddhati. Now, if a person who doesn't follow mitahar, if he doesn't know what mitahar is, and if he starts doing pranayam or yoga in general, then forget getting siddhi, he will get contracted with different kinds of diseases. That has been mentioned by Dhiranda Samhitakar. Okay, so that is what mitahar is important. Now, what mitahar is, we will see. This is the definition of pranayam, which I'm not getting into details about. Tasmin sati shwasa prashavasa yo gati vicheda pranayama is from Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and they have got their own way of discussing 4 types of pranayam, but we will not get into those. But coming down to another interesting and important sutra or shlok which we see in Hatapradipika, that is pranayamena yuktena sarvaroga kshayo bhavet. So pranayamena yuktena sarvaroga kshayo bhavet means if you do proper way of pranayam or proper way of metered breathing practices of yoga, then you will see all your diseases will get vanished. And the second line says, Ayukta Abhyasa Yogena Sarva Roga Samudbhava. So if you don't practice it in a correct way, if you don't practice yoga in a right way, then it can generate all different kinds of diseases. So friends, we should also mention this to our students and to our patients as well, because in yoga and Ayurveda, I've seen people, they have got feeling that, oh, if I take Ayurvedic drugs, it will not harm me. It is true, but it is half true. If you are taking correct type of medicine in correct diseases, in correct condition, in correct doses, along with correct vehicle, to which we call anupan, may it be honey, may it be milk or buttermilk or cold water or hot water or things like that, in presence of or under monitoring of learned Ayurvedic physician or Vaidya, then and then only it will be really harmless. If you take by your own, right, by reading particular say article or just referring some books, it can harm you, because ultimately any medicine has got 2 things: one is effect, one is side effect. They are the 2 sides of the same coin. If you say I don't have side effects, then you cannot even say that you have effect. Only thing, with reference to modern medicine, the side effect is much lesser. That is okay, that I can understand. But similar way, even in yoga, if you don't practice yoga in a rightful way, it can also harm you. And these are the references which we also required to remember and to be said to our patients or to our disciples, students. Okay, now when we say yukta means what? Yuktena means what? So in this Brahmananda Tika, they have said yukta yukta yo pranayama yo phalam aha pranayamena iti. So aharadi yukti purvaka jalandaradi bandha yukti vishishta pranayamo yukta iti uchyate. Now if you don't do mitahar, if you don't follow do's and don'ts in yoga with reference to diet, and if you don't put those particular logs like Jalandhar Bandha, then Uddiyan and Mula Bandha, the way it has been mentioned in the script, and if you do pranayam, then you may not get the right, benefit of pranayam as it has been mentioned. Then tena sarva rogakshaya sarvenam roganam kshayo nasha bhavati ayukta ukta yukti rahita abhyasat ayukta pranayamena sarva roga samudbhava. Now same thing, whatever I have just now spoke, it has been mentioned in the tika. Now what is very, very important in this is that you are dealing with vata. Okay, you are dealing with pancha prana in this. Okay, now in Ayurveda we also discuss 5 types of subtypes of vayu. So prana, vyana, udana, samana and apana, and that is there mentioned in yoga as well, right? So when you have kumbhaka, puraka, kumbhaka and rechaka, that is inhalation, then holding and exhalation, then that needs to be followed in a very strict way in the particular ratio, that is the common ratio which has been mentioned by Hatapradivika, that is 1:4:2. Now, when you hold, take inhalation in 1, 2, 3, 4 inhalation, and if you are not able to exhale in 8, then slowly and steadily you should practice and you come out to that level. It is not possible that in the beginning you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 16 you cannot exhale, you get exhausted and you may exhale, exhalation gets completed by 6 or so. So one need to go slowly and steadily and required to fulfill the particular ratio. Now, why it is to be done? Because in Ayurveda says that in these 3 Vata, Pitta, Kapha, this Vata is to be understood like your son-in-law. So when you try to do any things with reference to your son-in-law, you need to be very, very careful. You have to be very, very goody, in a very nice way, sweet way, and it need not be done any hasty way, because if you do that way, then that son-in-law will get angry, and that is not good in part of your daughter. So that is what is the corollary they have given. So Vata is to be treated like Jamata, that is son-in-law. So it is to be treated very slowly, Shanai Shanai. And if a person tries to control it immediately without any, patience, then it can harm you. So that principle of Ayurveda has to be taught while teaching pranayam, and then to be going ahead with. Other very important part, which is, although it is not connected with Ayurveda, I would like to mention here that why 1:2 ratio, why they have specifically said like that. Because when you do 1:2 inhalation to exhalation, that innervates your parasympathetic nervous system. You have got nervous system, central nervous system, autonomic nervous system, and peripheral nervous system. These are the 3 classes. So of autonomic, they have got subdivided into 2, that is sympathetic and parasympathetic. Now sympathetic aggravates or increases your heartbeats, your respiration, all that secretions and all. So, and even anxiety and all that mode is more in sympathetic. Whereas in parasympathetic, your heart rate comes down, your respiration slow down, all that happens in parasympathetic. Now, when you are doing this particular 1:2 ratio in your inhalation to exhalation, you are automatically training your body to maintain your sympathetic and parasympathetic balance, and you're taking it slightly more towards parasympathetic, which is good for your health on a long run. So that is the importance of pranayam particularly, and this ratio also. Okay, now what are the complications? So if you do it wrongly, it can create hikka, shvasascha, kasascha, shirak karunakshi vedana, bhavanti vividha roga, pavanasya prakopata. So what are these? Hikka means hiccups, Shwasa means bronchial asthma, Kasa means bronchitis, Shira Vedana means headaches, Karna Vedana means earache, and Akshi Vedana, that is pain in the eye. And bhavanti vividaroga pavanasya. Various types of vata disorders can happen if you do this particular pranayama practice in a wrong way. It should be done with mitar, it should be done with shuddhi kriyas, after shuddhi kriyas rather, with empty stomach, not on full stomach, and bowel has to be cleansed before you do this particular practice, because when the bowel is not cleansed, if a person is constipated, then the gati of apana, which is going down, is avarodhit, it is obstructed, and that can create problem in your practice of pranayam, or the benefits can get different in a different way. So that needs to be understood. Now shat karma, or the cleansing process, it is usually undertaken for removing staulya, that is obesity, and kapha dosha mala adikaha. So these cleansing process, or shat karma, what we call shuddhi kriya, what we call, they are supposed to be undertaken for reducing kapha and pitta dosha particularly, and also staulya, that is obesity, and to make your srotasa or nadis patent open, and so that then you can practice pranayam in a much better way. Okay, then pranayam tata kuryat anasayana siddhyati. Once you do this, then pranayam can be under practice very easily. Mitar. Now, up till now, we were discussing what is mitar. So many times we spoke about this. So, mitaram vinayastu yogarambam already we saw. So, what is mitar? So, they are saying shuddham sumaduram snigdam udarardha vivarjitam bhujyate surasa prityam mitahara idam viduhu. So, this is from Giranda. Something similar has been also mentioned in Ashtanga Hridaya. Okay. Now, why Shuddha Sumadhuram Snigdam? Because in most of the yoga classes or yoga school, they are saying, oh, let us not have sugar. Oh, let us not have fats. Let us not have oil. That is wrong. That is bad to eye. Your sugar is a toxin. But friends, it is not so. They have mentioned in the script. And please understand, in the initial phase of yoga sadhana, when a person is yoga sadhak, not a yogi, please understand the difference between the two. When he is doing yoga sadhana, may it be practices like asana, may it be practice like your pranayam, there is bound to have increase in vata prakopa, is an increase in your vitiated vata dosha, and to counteract that increased vata dosha, there is required to have madhura ahara, and required to have snigdha, which is opposite to the properties of increased vata dosha. So therefore it is to be taken in that way. Then what they have said, udarardha vivarjitam. So you consider the stomach into four parts. So two parts filled by solid, one part filled by liquid, and the last part is kept for vayu sancharanartha. So let there be space for movements, and that will help you to churn and then get the proper digestion and assimilation, and then followed by excretion. So in then that way, it is to be understood mitahara. Now, Susnigdam Madhurahara Chaturthamasha Vivarjitam Bhujyate Shiva Samprityo Mitahara. This is from Hatha Pradipika. Same thing just now I mentioned. Then Katu Amla Tikshna Lavana Ushna Harita Shaka Savira Taila Tila Sarshapa Madhya Matsyan Ajadi Mansa. Now what are these? These are the thing which is not to be taken, right, by yoga sadhak. Now Katu Amla, these are the rasas which I have already showed you in the beginning slide. Now, Katuras is bound to increase your Vata. Katuras is also bound to increase your Pitta. Amla is bound to increase your Pitta. Tikshna is also increasing your Pitta. Okay. Then Lavana is going to increase your Kapha. So all these kinds of diet articles, they are going to have problem with Ushna is again going to increase your Pitta. So Harita Shaka, that is your leafy vegetables, Ayurveda says, as well as modern medicine, yogic diet says that you should not have raw leafy vegetable. And particularly in monsoon, like today, we have got a heavy monsoon. That time we should avoid leafy vegetables because that can create increase in vata. Savira, then tila, sarshapa, that is your mustard, then madhya, that is your liquors, then matsya, that is your fish, Ajadi mansa, that is your goat meat, then curds, then buttermilk, and kulatha, that is your horse gram. All these are to be considered as a pathya. Now, what is pathya and apathya? So, pathya is a term which has derived from a term patha. Patha means a road. The road which leads to health is known as pathya, and the road which will lead to disease condition is termed as apathya. So these are all the list of apatya. So same here they are saying about hingu and lashuna adi. Lashuna adi means lashuna means garlic and onions also. Okay. Now we have started with Shravan. This particular month we are having Adhik Shravan. So in Shravan also Chaturmas people, they don't eat onions and garlics. Why? Because they are supposed to do prayers and all that stuff. But basically after having this particular lashun and onions, they get more urge for sex. Kama vasana बढ़ जाती है. So because of that, it has been mentioned that in Chaturmas you are not supposed to take this particular thing. Whereas Ayurveda says that they are good if taken in a proper quantum. Okay, they are considered to be good for health. Okay, but for yoga sadhaka also it is considered to be apatya. Now, bhojanam ahitam vidyat puna ushnikritam ruksham. If you prepare your food, you are keeping it, and after 2 days, if you're putting it to microwave and making it warm and eating it, that puna ushnikritam ruksham. So when you again and again heat and eat it, it becomes ruksham, that is dry, and that will also leads to increase in vat. So it should be avoided. Ati lavanam amlakyuktam shakotakam varjet. So if it is too much of sour, too much of salty, then also it is to be taken aside. You should not touch it. Then shakotakam, that is all leafy vegetable salads and all should be taken aside, particularly in monsoon. If at all you want to use it, you can do sanskar on that by putting what we call tadka, right? So you put that jeera and mustard and haldi and chili and all that stuff along with oil, and that will make it easy for to get it digested in themselves. And then when you eat this particular sanskarit padarth, then it will be easy to get digested. So shakotakam varjet. Now what is to be taken? So they have mentioned that goduma shali yavashashtika bhojananam. So your wheat, then your rice, then your barley, all these are supposed to be taken. Then they have mentioned sita. Sita means your raw sugar. Okay, no khadi shakkar or mishri, not the processed sugar. Then madhu. Madhu means your honey. Shunti, that is dry ginger powder. Patolaka, faladi, panchashaka. So there are 5 types of vegetables which yoga and Ayurveda both recommends. One of the commonest is your guduchi, which became famous in this COVID period, that is giloy. Okay, and there are 5, jivanti and patola and all that. Then mudgadi divyam. Mudgadi means your moong. Okay, moong can also be taken because that is the one which gives you strength and which is not creating vayu inside your stomach, so and easy to get digested. Then divya mudakam means you collect water from the when it is falling down, the rain is falling down, you collect it. But that was holding true then. Now cities like metro cities like Delhi and Mumbai and uh, places like this, it will have all polluted water. So this part we should not accept at this moment. So again, you can have particular examples like lagupakam priyam snigdam tatha dhatu praposhanam mana abhilishitam yogyam yogi bhojanam acharet. So anything which is easy to get digested, you should take, which is having some kind of fats within it, so that it will be controlling the supposed to be increasing vayu. And dhatu praposhanam, the one which has got sweet taste, so it will take care of rasadi dhatu, sapta dhatu, and then it will be good for you. And the one which is very nice, you get nice feeling while eating those particular substances, not because you don't like and just because it has been mentioned you should not eat. So mano abhilishitam yogyam, so that part also should be kept into mind. Then Katinyam Duritam Puti Ushnam Paryushitam Tata Atishitam Cha Ati Ushnam Bhaksham Yogi Vivarjet. If it is too tough to eat, you should not eat. Duritam Putim. If it is putrefied, you should not eat. Then Paryushitam, stale, you should not eat. Then Atishitam, very freezed, then you should not eat. Ati Ushnam, it is too hot, you should not eat. All these should be kept aside by yoga sadhak. Okay, so already we have covered a lot of things on how the correlation of Ayurveda and yoga can be seen. I have taken 7 days workshop at Kaivalyadham in the last year, or not last year, this year itself, and it was 7 to 7, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And you can imagine the span of this particular subject. But if we really see, you can see there are a lot of similes in Ayurveda and Yoga, like Triguna and Tridosha, Ashtanga Yoga and Ashtanga Ayurveda. Then Nadi, the concept in Yoga, and the Srotasa or microchannel concept in Ayurveda, Chakra concept in both Yoga as well as Ayurveda, then Shuddhi Kriya in Yoga and Panchakarma in Ayurveda. Now in Shuddhi Kriya, we don't see who is to be given Shuddhi Kriya. Most of the classes we see, oh, you should take that glass full of water with salt and drink it till it comes to this level and puke it out. So that is Vamana Dhauti they call, right? Whereas in Ayurveda, we practice it much different way. We give some, medicated ghee to eat with or drink with. And after particular movement, then we give some medicine to lick with, and automatically it comes. That vomiting automatically comes. We don't throw that. We collect it. We see whether it is coming as apittanta. At the end, pitta should be seen, and then it is to be stopped. But again, there is very important part which is remaining in these two, that in Ayurveda we see to whom it is to be given. What is the indication and contraindication, to whom Panchakarma can be given and cannot be given. So that part I think yoga can borrow from Ayurveda and go ahead with. Whereas in Ayurveda, when we do Nasya in my own clinics, so I have seen that before giving Nasya, I suggest them to do Jalaneti, which everyone can perform. And by after doing Jalaneti for initial few days, then I give Nasya. And I have found that then the dosage of that Nasya medicament gets reduced drastically, and it shows much better results. So basically, we can see the combination of Ayurveda and Panchakarma together and can give more benefit to our patients. Then Yamaniyama and Sadvritta. Yamaniyama we see in yoga, whereas Sadvritta or Sadachar in Ayurveda. Then Dhyana Dharana and Sattva Vajay Chikitsa in Dhyana Dharana in Ashtanga Yoga, and Sattva Vajay in Yoga, Ayurveda. So these are some of the things, and very importantly that in Ayurveda we have concept of Prakriti. So we say that all people are not same. So every person has got its own individual characteristic, may it be mental, physical, physiological, and even to some extent behavioral. So considering those, we uh, identify those people under which subset they follow, and based on that, then we are giving dividing it into Prakriti, Deha Prakriti. So Vata Pitta Kapha, Vata Pittaja, Pitta Kaphaja, Kapha Vataja, Trija. Now in itself is a big topic to teach with how to identify Prakriti. Now, what is the importance of this? And Manas Prakriti, also Sattvic, Rajas, Tamas, that we also follow in Yoga and Ayurveda both. But this is what is making importance to choose what kind of diet to be given in what kind of season. Now, particularly this is monsoon which is going on, and if a person is already Vata Prakriti, having some backache or some spondylosis or some cervical spondylitis, then it is a Vataja Roga, right? And in that, if we are doing some yogic practices, or if we are giving some yogic ahar, then this Prakriti will determine what exactly I should give and should not give. So that is very important. If a person is of Pitta Prakriti, and if Pitta Prakriti person having Pitta Roga, Pitta disease, acidity, for example, hyperacidity, Amla Pitta, then in that case, we must understand while deciding his practices, if he is doing Agnisar for a longer duration, then it can harm. So all these finer tuning, finer understanding of giving therapeutic guidance towards our patient, towards our students also while teaching yoga classes, I think this could be one of the very important aspect, and one need to learn about it. Then all these terms already I have mentioned, so I am not reading this, but we know that Ayurveda also speak on Sankhya and Yoga and Nyaya and Vaisheshika. All these is even Vedanta to some extent, and it is based on that. Yukti Vyapashraya means the one in which we use different kind of medicines for alleviation of increase vitiated doshas by giving medicine. There are types of Daiva Vyapashraya Chikitsa where we use mantra or dharana of money and all that. But in Sattva Vajay, basically we use principles of yoga only. And there is something known as Neshtiki Chikitsa in Ayurveda, which is again nothing but yoga only. So if we understand and remember the basics of these Agni, Jatra Agni, or Mala, or Dhatu and Rasa, and all these Manas, Buddhi, Ankar, all that, then I think we will be able to give proper justice while teaching yoga to our students, or while giving yoga therapy as an integrative Ayurveda yoga therapy to our patients. I think I've taken a little more time. I'm thankful to all of you for patient hearing. If there is any specific questions, I'll be really happy. So I'm actually calling Sophia ma'am to join us, and we are going ahead. I'm just closing presentation. One second. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Phadke. So yeah, we're open for questions. If anyone has any questions, now's the time to send them. While you guys are thinking of any questions, if you have any questions you want to come up with, if any of our participants would like to get in touch with you, Dr. Phadke, can we share your details? We're going to be sharing the website for Ayurvision. Kotiji, can you please put that in the chat box? Kotiji?
This www.ayurveda.org.
He has put it in the chat box, so everyone can access it from there. It's ayurvision.org. I don't see any questions yet. So if anyone thinks of questions, you can always email us and we'll forward your questions to Dr. Phadke. Now you can get in touch with him directly, also from the website. So before we sign out, is there any last message or advice you'd like to leave us with, Dr. Phadke?
I think Ayurveda and you, they are, sisters, and they are the sciences which were prevailing in those time and now also. So I think we should get the maximum benefit of learning either in an appropriate way and utilize it for the benefit of entire mankind. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. So that brings us to this to the end of this session. And I just want to remind everyone that we record all our sessions. So you can always come back to this session to have a look at everything Dr. Phadke spoke about. If you want to share the session also, it will be available on the Indica Yoga YouTube channel, our social media channels, as well as our website.
Let me once again thank you, Indica and Sophia ma'am, for giving me opportunity to be in front of you. And I'm really happy that I'm, getting associated with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We have one comment from Sachinji who's saying it's good to learn this together. Thank you for sharing and watching the session, Sachinji. And thank you so much, Dr. Phadke. We hope to collaborate again with you as well. And thank you for taking the time to do this in-depth presentation. And thank you to all our participants for joining us. I'll see all of you again next week. Namaste.
Namaste.